appropriate dietary patterns, and fiber is a critical element. It's part of our talk today. We'll come to that in detail. Then the third thing that we talked about is avoidance of smoking. I've been telling people that probably one of the most wasteful self-inflicting damages anybody can cause himself and his family is the decision to smoke cigarettes. I want to repeat that, and I want to be very emphatic on that. And probably the most insensible thing anybody can do is to stand in the presence of somebody who's smoking, a person smokes on you. Because if you made the decision not to smoke, to subject yourself to secondhand smoking does not make sense. And it is critical that you should not respectfully damage yourself by standing in the presence of another person that is smoking. You should do well to excuse yourself or move out of that place, or ask the person to excuse themselves. And for parents we've talked about this, for parents who smoke in the presence of their children, I believe that is social injustice, and our case needs to be protected from people who smoke in their presence. Whenever people come to the hospital, we ask them, how long have you smoked? And they say, I've smoked for 20 years. You see, if the person started smoking at the age of 16 years and the parents smoked, technically that person has smoked for 36 years. So to expose children to smoking is something that should be avoided, and I believe as a society we all need to take actions against exposing children to secondhand smoking, which I believe violates the fundamental rights of children to good health, which I believe is their God-given right, which we as parents should guard and not be able to give them unnecessary conditions. Smoking comes with many other respiratory kind of diseases in addition to cardiovascular diseases, and that is why I believe it is important. And what does it do? It gives you cancers and all those things. We have an extensive talk on smoking, so I believe that, especially smoking cigarettes, I believe that you can once again contact a producer, and it should be able to get these things even available to you. So these things are very important. So these are the three pillars of ideal cardiovascular health. There are 7 of them, and the other ones will go through them. What are they? Ensuring that your blood pressure is less than 130/80. It is critical. If you do not have any other condition like diabetes, or you do not have end-stage kidney disease or heart failure, then the ideal blood pressure should no longer be 120. That should be it should no longer be 130/80. That blood pressure should ideally be 120/80, and that is based on the SPRINT trial. The SPRINT trial is probably one of the largest hypertension trials that has been done in the United States, and it provided a very important information. The reduction of blood pressure to 120/80 is associated with helping you to live longer. We're talking about life here, prolongation of life, and that is why the control of high blood pressure is critical. I am an interventional cardiologist, and I spend considerable part of my time opening up blocked blood vessels, but yet the commonest thing that I see in my clinic within the university setting actually is high blood pressure. And I realize that people can be a little bit cavalier, or a little bit the approach to blood pressure sometimes surprises me a lot. But if it's one thing that we need to be adherent to the guidelines and ensure that we are all at the appropriate level of our blood pressure. And it is a good idea to make sure that you know what your blood pressure range is, and you'll be able to take steps. Once you see your blood pressure climbing more than 130, it is important to take steps to ensure. We'll come back to blood pressure again. The other thing that we also talked about is ensuring that your blood glucose is less than 100. And then the other things that we're going to talk extensively about, once again, we've talked about cholesterol in the past, but this evening we're going to talk about cholesterol again, because there is a new data that came up in the New England Journal a few weeks ago, and I believe that it is important that we have that discussion, because what this particular article did is that the leaders of cholesterol management sort of put together the articles, the guidelines that came last year, and in addition to the American Heart Association, American College of Cardiology, a recommendation that came up. And what they did is that they put it together. Our goal here is to make sure that we give you evidence-based medicine. That's what I tell my fellows every time that we do this, that it is important that to the best of our ability as physicians, we make sure that we can give you the best. You put you trust us with your health, and our goal is that we should be able to give you the best. And that is what we are trying to do here in this program, that as much as possible, everything that we are trying to tell you here is based on the best literature. It's not a quasi literature or a literature that cannot be that has not been substantiated. We want to make sure that the word is recommended and highly the word is not just recommended but highly recommended is what we should be able to give you over here. So once again, today we're going to talk about cholesterol, or so cholesterol is not all fats. You see, it's important because people think fat. It's important to talk about cholesterol as part of the fat management, and for you to know what you need to do. So we'll go over a few things here, and hopefully this program should be able to help you. We're going to go for a short commercial break. Today's discussion is very, very important, and I will encourage you to invite somebody to join us, even as we go on a short commercial break. And it is, I believe, it's going to make a difference in your life. You're going to hear certain things that will help you. I've found certain information that are very, very important, which if you sort of adopt them in your life, they're going to help you to be able to, first of all, enjoy life. You know, I tell people, life is not just about living it, but enjoying it. And that is our goal. Not only to live a longer life, but to live long, healthy life. And that is why, in addition to my work, as a man of God, it's also important that we also make sure that, and as a physician, we also want to make sure that you end up getting the best in both sides of the world, whether spiritual or physical. Everything that God has given to us, we take all advantage of it to enjoy the best in life. So we'll go on a short commercial break, and during that time, invite somebody to join us. Once again, this is Healthy Heart. Don't touch the dial. My name is Dr. Opoku Asare, and thanks for joining us. Invite somebody. The number for this line we're going to give to you, and you can use that to talk to other to ask people to call us for any questions that they've had. When we get a question, we're going to get back, we're going to break and then be able to answer those questions. We'll go for a short commercial break.
Did you know your heart isn't only your most critical muscle, it's what keeps you alive? Your heart is about the size of a fist. It beats about 100,000 times each day and generally slows down as you age. I'm sure that you already know that depression, excessive sitting, smoking, lack of exercise, and a host of other things will generally increase the risk of a heart attack.
My name is Dr. Opoku Asare. I am an interventional cardiologist. Make a date with me on Tuesdays and Saturdays at 6 p.m. on Zoe Radio as we discuss how to keep your heart healthy. Call or send me your questions at 301-221-5727 during the show, and I'm ready to answer them.
Healthy Heart is proudly brought to you by Cardiovascular Solutions, a non-profit organization.
Welcome again to Healthy Heart. This is Dr. Opoku Asare, and thanks for joining me this evening. Today, I want to talk about lipid management. So, the term lipid will be, for the layman, we'll call it fat. But essentially, we're talking about the most important fat in your body is cholesterol. So, today, we're going to talk about that. And as I said, we'll give you the opportunity to invite people to listen to us. So I want also to give you the number. I think that number is 301-221 5727. So once again, it's 301-221-5727. And you can call us with any questions even as we go through this program. So to start with, there are four main categories of cholesterol that you get if you go and do your cholesterol with your doctor, which is important that if you are more than 40 years old and probably with all the fast food around, I may think it should be lower. but the guideline says that 40 and above. It's important to sort of look at it. But before we look at the various strategies, let us look at this. First of all, what are the 4 categories? So if you go to your doctor and you do that, what will come out on your profile? The number 1 is your total cholesterol. So the general notion is that your total cholesterol should be less than 200. And I strongly encourage that you check your cholesterol. So once you get your total cholesterol, then there's a further breakdown on what we call LDL cholesterol, lower density cholesterol, which is considered the bad cholesterol. Ideally, nobody should have a bad cholesterol that is more than 190. And if you've ever had a stroke, if you've ever had a heart attack, if you've ever had blockages in your heart, if you've ever had a blockage in your leg, then that cholesterol level, that is the LDL cholesterol level, should be less than 70. So you see, the range is about 70 and 190. And our goal, we used to think that the number 70 was good, but now we believe, based on all the literature that came out over the last 2 years, now is that the lower is better. Actually, there are certain people who have cholesterol as low as 23 and something, and it's sort of a genetic thing. I mean, it's because of the fact that genetically they lack something we call PCSK9. And so they are not able to produce a lot of cholesterol. And these people, they practically do not have heart attacks, and that is how the medication that is currently being used, it came about. So there is epidemiological evidence, that is that if you look at people within the community, those with low cholesterol, even as a result, sort of a natural thing that has occurred, they have better life, cardiovascular life. So, and that is why the lower is better. So the bad cholesterol, which is your LDL, ideally should be low. And most of the gains that we've had in cardiovascular medicine, especially in coronary artery disease, were driven by significant reductions that we've been able to achieve in terms of the bad cholesterol. The bad cholesterol is the killer. And that is the one that we need to ensure that we can suppress it. So that is your LDL. Remember the word LDL. So what is the other thing that you're going to see on your lipid profile? The other thing you're going to see on your lipid profile is is what we call HDL. So the HDL is high intensity lipoprotein. And why is that important? The high intensity cholesterol is what we call the good cholesterol. I mean, for most men, it should be more than 40. For most women, it should be more than 50. And why is that important? Because it is important because it helps take away the cholesterol from the blood vessels and dump it into the liver. So people call it the trash van, right? What does the trash van do? It comes to take away the trash from your home and then what? And send it to the trash dump. So that is what the good cholesterol does. In my own life, I have seen this, and that is what we have seen. That people with low HDL, that means that if your good cholesterol is low, it also opens up the risk of having what? Of having a blockage in your heart or having a heart attack. So that is a very important thing. I've seen that a lot of young men, especially below the age of 50, who end up getting a heart attack. Most of them do not have very, very high bad cholesterol. Most of them, what is happening is that they do not have, I'm repeating this, they do not have high levels of the good cholesterol. Let me flip it this way. Most of the young men that is less than 50 that I've seen them having heart attack, one of the things that I've noticed in them is that they have low good cholesterol. So it is important that your good cholesterol is also high. And it is known that when your good cholesterol is high, it sort of dampens or reverses the impact of having a high cholesterol. So that is a very good thing that you need to be able to have. Then what is the other thing that is going to show on your profile? Which is what is the triglycerides. Triglycerides are also associated with worse outcomes, and we're going to talk about these ones in detail. So that is the report that you're going to get on your on your cholesterol report, or if your doctor checks your cholesterol, and look at these figures, and we're going to go into details. So one of the major reasons why people get heart attack is this. It is because there is the genetic predisposition in your family that may lead to that. So anybody who has got a family member, generally a man in your family who has had a heart attack below the age of 50, or a woman in your family that has got a heart attack below the age of 60, that means that there is a familiar predisposition, for you to have coronary artery disease. So in this situation, I mean, pastors will call it demonic, and the physician will call them genetic. Whatever it is, there is a predisposition, and you got to do something about it. And I carry both of them, so I can sort of talk about it. I believe that you should use all the physical and all the spiritual means to get this one down. So none of them competes with the other. You should be able to use both of them. So when you have this situation, let me give you a story here. I had a young man who came to our hospital about 2 years ago, and he went to his doctor, and the doctor said, your bad cholesterol, I gave you cholesterol medication, your bad cholesterol is doing very well. This young man was at the age of 48. He had gone to the gym and everything, and the doctor stopped this young man's cholesterol medication. He went to drop his daughter. He went to drop his daughter at a birthday party. On his way from the birthday party, he started having chest pain. So he called his wife that I'm having chest pain, and I think this chest pain is heart attack. So from there, the wife, he stopped there. The wife came over, and they drove to the hospital. And when he came in, one of his major blood vessels was 100% gone. So he was having a heart attack. And in addition to that, the one of the blood vessels, we call it the widowmaker, right? Which lies on top of the heart, because it supplies more than 50% of the blood that goes to the heart. That had 90% blockage. So we took him in, and we opened up the blockage that was in the circumflex artery, that 100% blockage. And from there we went on and also opened the artery that had about 90% blockage, and that gave him relief. So after the discussion, and not only that, because of the massive heart attack that he suffered, right, the heart, I mean, the heart, we were very much worried that the strength of the heart was going to go down significantly, because he also came in with heart failure because of the heart attack that he had. So after we've opened him up, and we've been able to get a fluid off him, we had a discussion. I asked him, so what happened? That's why he ended up telling me the story. But let me tell you this. The reason that this young man was able to come in is because his father had a heart attack at the age of 49. He was 48 years old, and he had a heart attack because his father had a heart attack at the age of 49. So there is a correlation. I had another young man who would have done everything. I mean, that is what he thought he was doing, without checking his cholesterol, and then taking the cholesterol medication. And he also came in, and he was 56. When he came with a heart attack, nobody could believe that he was having a heart attack. They gave me a call. I told them that put him in the lab. I'm on my way. I'm going to. I said get him ready, and once I get there, put him in the lab. That's what I told them. And when we went in, right, nobody could expect it. He had 100% blockage of the blood vessel that lies in the base of the heart. And his brother had a heart attack at the age of 57. He was 56 or 58. The point that I'm saying is that probably one of the biggest risk factor over here that predisposes us is a familiar word, is a family history of having of heart attack. Why have I spent time to talk about this? I'm going to talk about other ones. Even if you have a risk factor based on your genes, or there's a family history of having heart attacks, appropriate lifestyle can reduce your risk by 50%. This is a very powerful. I'm not talking about medication. I'm talking about lifestyle. Just a lifestyle modification. Just only lifestyle. And let me tell you, cholesterol medications and other things, most of them reduce your cholesterol by 30%, right? But lifestyle modification, even when you have a genetic predisposition, can reduce your risk of heart attacks by 50%. This is not coming from me. This was published in New England Journal. So you don't have an excuse. And that is why I'm saying that irrespective of the angle that you look at them, you should be able to take the appropriate measures to help you to be able to reduce your risk of having a massive heart attack or blockages in your heart if you adapt the lifestyle changes that we're going to be talking about. Because sometimes, you see, just with that, you should be able to get most of your cholesterol down. But people are not ready to take those measures, and that is what will probably necessitate that we'll have to add medications to it. And sometimes there are certain people that will not be able to do anything, but we need to add the medication to it. But at least adopt the lifestyle changes first, and then the other things that can be added to it will be added to it to be able to help you to go to be able to help you to get to your goal in terms of your lipid profile or your cholesterol that you may be having. So we'll go for a short break and then come back. And when we come back, we're going to be looking at all the three segments. We're going to be looking at the bad cholesterol, we're going to be looking at the good cholesterol, and we're going to be looking at the triglycerides. What are the things that have been shown? What do you need to do, and how do we go about it to help you to be able to help you to reach your goal? Once again, my name is Dr. Isaac Opoku Asare. I am an interventional cardiologist, and thank you very much for joining me this evening for us to talk about it. One of the probably the most important things that you need to be able to pay attention to, which is cholesterol.
It's what keeps you alive. Your heart is about the size of a fist. It beats about 100,000 times each day and generally slows down as you age. I'm sure that you already know that depression, excessive sitting, smoking, lack of exercise, and a host of other things will generally increase the risk of a heart attack.
My name is Dr. Isaac Opoku Asare. I am an interventional cardiologist. Make a date with me on Tuesdays and Saturdays at 6 p.m. on Zoe Radio as we discuss how to keep your heart healthy. Call or send me your questions at 301-221-5727 during the show, and I'm ready to answer them.
Healthy Heart is proudly brought to you by Cardiovascular Solutions, a non-profit organization.
Welcome again. This is Dr. Isaac Opoku Asare. Thanks for joining me. I hope that you'll be able to send us your questions. The number once again is 301-221-5727. And we are here to answer your questions. So we're going to continue with our discussion once again on cholesterol. So let us start with the bad cholesterol. Okay. So you go to your doctor and your doctor tells you, okay, your cholesterol level is 191. So what is the first thing to do? I mean, if you're 191, probably you need medicines. I mean, it is too high. Anybody above 191, that is too much. Because even with significant reductions, that may be a challenge. So you may need that. But even if you need medications, lifestyle changes can make a significant impact, which I talked about. So what are the lifestyle changes that you need? Well, number one, a diet that is good or high in fiber, I'm repeating this, in fiber can reduce your consumption, can reduce your bad cholesterol by as much as 5 to 10%. So if your cholesterol was 150, your bad cholesterol was 150, and your doctor wants to bring it down, if you are able to consume about 2 to 10 grams a day of soluble fiber, just by doing that, you can get down your bad cholesterol, that is the LDL, that is the low intensity lipoprotein cholesterol, LDL, by 5 to 10%. So what are the high fiber food? Let me put it this way. It is not cassava. So let's be clear here. So that is the only thing that you should consume, because sometimes we put too much faith in that. So let me tell you the specific ones that you can go for, right? Legumes, right? Legumes are very good. Fruit pulp is very, very good. Oat, right? Oat brine is very good. And vegetables and specific vegetables, which there are certain vegetables, I call them the 5-star. And one of them is broccoli. Broccoli is a very, 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 probably among the vegetables, that is my 5-star. It has so many benefits. It has got very good amount of fiber in them. And Brussels sprouts, those, I call them small cabbages. They are small ones. Those are very good. And if you consume them in the appropriate amounts, consuming about 2 to 10 grams a day of those soluble fibers, that can reduce your cholesterol. So another one that I intentionally left out is nuts, right? Nuts. And when I refer to, these are 3 nuts that I'm talking about, specifically the almonds, right? Almonds, pecans, walnuts, pistachios, and the macadamia. I see these nuts a lot, macadamia nuts. These nuts, they contain proteins. More importantly, they contain unsaturated fats. So not all fats are bad. Let me, and I'm going to lay emphasis here. But they contain also a high amount of fiber, which is going to help you. You see, when you hear people, and remember this, I did not talk about peanuts. I'm talking about tree nuts. Right, tree nuts are very, very good. Of course, peanuts is good. All nuts, I believe that all nuts are good, but they are very, very good, and they contain. Why I'm going to lay emphasis on this? Because you need to understand this concept. That there's a whole misconception out there about nuts. Oh, that nuts, they contain fats. They contain fats, but that is the exact fats that you need. So let us talk about it. One, they contain protein. And because they contain protein, you can switch from animal protein to fat protein, which is better than animal protein. So that is why nuts are good, number one. Number two, they contain unsaturated fat. And unsaturated fat is what we need. You see, we had a whole discussion about the 2 types of unsaturated fat, the poly and the monounsaturated fat. And these are the vegetable fats that you need to consume, right? So it is, yes, nuts, they contain fat, but that is a fat that you need. Why is that important? It is important because the fiber, when you consume just 1 gram, just 1/7, let me put it this way, just 1/7 of nuts per day can reduce 1/7 of nut per day can reduce your bad cholesterol by 5 milligram per deciliter. And that is the power of nuts. You see, so because we all consume proteins one way or the other, and it is important for you to be able to do that. I just want you to understand, there's a very interesting thing that we have noticed about consumption of tree nuts in particular, that higher consumption of what? The higher the consumption of nuts that you have, the greater the reduction in terms of you dying and any cause of death. Why is that important? It is important because this is what we know, that when you by replacing meat protein, the protein that you have in your food, with plant protein, by partially replacing them, you can reduce your cholesterol by what? By 10%. So this is very, very, very important. Let me give you another example too. We also know this, that what are saturated fats? Most saturated fat, which is the cheese, right? Cheese is found in everything in America. I mean, it's like we have cheesecake, cheese this, cheese this. So animal fat is the main source. Animal fat is the main source of what? Main source of saturated fat. And if you replace your saturated fat with polyunsaturated fats, and we've given a lot of examples of polyunsaturated fat, which is also found in nuts, you can reduce your risk of having heart problems by as much as what? By as much as 30%. So going back to the concept of nuts again, yes, nuts contain what? They contain fat. But if you consume the nuts, then your goal is to replace the nuts. The more nuts you consume, the more what? Meat protein or meat fat that is you should consume. Then you should use the nuts to replace your cheese. You should use the nut to replace the meat, so that As much as you do that, you cut. I'm giving you the two principles. You can cut down your bad cholesterol level by 10%. But more importantly, you can cut down your risk of what? Dying from a heart problem by as much as 30%. So tree nuts should be part of your food. The almonds, the pistachios, make sure. If you come to my house, everybody will tell you that is my staple, and I believe and try, because I want to use everything that God has given to me as a cardiologist to be able to live right, and that is why we're trying to take these measures. Why is it that we promote? Polyunsaturated fat or monounsaturated fat? They are important because one of the two diets that is out there that we promote for people is what we call the DASH diet. You see, the DASH diet, and as well as the DASH is DASH. You can look at it, and you can also look at the Mediterranean diet. My preference is the Mediterranean diet because it's delicious. It is delicious because it is full of vegetables. Essentially, it is made up of vegetables, and vegetables with a good amount of what? Extra virgin olive oil, and more importantly, nuts. And this has been tested and has been shown that it reduces your risk of dying from any cause. I'm not talking about only the heart cause. I'm talking about all forms of it. So it is important that essentially that you include high fiber, and that's what we've talked about, the sources of high fiber. We've listed them here. But replacing your plant protein and replacing your animal protein and your animal fats, that is the saturated fat, with plant fats and plant proteins will go a long way to be able to help you to reduce your risk of reduce your risk of having heart-related problems, especially heart attacks, and by reducing your bad cholesterol. Another thing that we need to talk about in terms of, so I'm laying emphasis on your bad cholesterol, very, very important. What are the things, and especially the lifestyle, right? Legumes, beans is a good one. Consume good amount of beans, and that is going to help you. Whole grains, and also add fish, in moderate amounts. I'm not saying that eat only fish. I'm not saying that don't eat meat. I consume meat. If you come to my house, I've got a lot over there. I eat salad with grilled meat virtually every evening. At least minimum is about 6 times every week. So that is my staple. It's not because I don't want to be a hypocrite. Come here, talk to you, and go back and practice vice. It's not true. I want to be true to you. So that is a very, very important thing that you do. So you can consume animal protein, you can consume these ones, but you consume them in the least of amounts. And the plant proteins will be the ones that you need to be able to have in large amounts. So encourage your children to eat these things, and it's going to go a long way to help them. Let us talk about something else here. It's whole grains. Whole grains it used not to be tasteful, but these days they are very good. The brown bread, right? Okay, they contain good amount of fiber here. That is also going to help you. Even rice, which we're going to come back and talk about. What is the relationship of polished flour or polished flour-based food with respect to cholesterol? You're going to know about that. But when it comes to the bad cholesterol, these things that we've talked about in terms of consumption of high fiber, replacement of your protein, animal protein with the plant protein, as well as replacement of your animal fat with plant fat, will go a long way in reducing your bad cholesterol. And then we're going to talk about how do you reduce your triglycerides. It's very, very important that you also know how to reduce your triglycerides. If you take these measures and your bad cholesterol is still high, then your doctor will have to have a discussion with you. Okay, what is the next thing to do? The next thing to do is for your doctor to calculate your risk. What is your risk? We'll call it ASCVD. What is your risk of you having an event in terms of your heart health? And there is a calculator that your doctor will do. Generally, for everybody that is more than 40 years up to 75 years, they put in the calculator, and the number is from 5 all the way to 20. If your risk of having a heart attack or your risk of having an event is more than 20, you are considered high. If you are in between 7.5 and 20, you are considered intermediate. And if your risk is less than 7.5, generally you're considered low. So your doctor will do that calculation with you, and then based on that, that will demand what needs to be done. Generally, if you or your risk is more than 20%, you definitely need to be on cholesterol medication that will reduce the bad cholesterol. If the risk is between 7.5 to about 20, then you need to have a discussion. Your doctor may consider doing certain things, like they can check the amount of calcium that you have in the blood vessels that in your heart. If it is more than 100, it may be a good idea for him or her to add a cholesterol medication to it after your lifestyle. Or if it is less than 100, then if it is less than 100, that may need a discussion. Probably lifestyle may be good. And if you are less than, if it's less than 0, or if it is less than 1, which is technically 0, then in that case, probably only lifestyle is going to help. So we'll go for a short break and then come back again, and we'll talk about the triglycerides, which is very, very important. What are the lifestyle changes that you can make to reduce your triglycerides, which is pretty much abundant in this country?
Did you know your heart isn't only your most critical muscle, it's what keeps you alive? Your heart is about the size of a fist. It beats about 100,000 times each day and generally slows down as you age. I'm sure that you already know that depression, excessive sitting, smoking, lack of exercise, and a host of other things will generally increase the risk of a heart attack.
My name is Dr. Isaac Opoku Asare. I am an interventional cardiologist. Make a date with me on Tuesdays and Saturdays at 6 p.m. on Zoe Radio as we discuss how to keep your heart healthy. Call or send me your questions at 301-221-5727 during the show, and I'm ready to answer them.
Healthy Heart is proudly brought to you by Cardiovascular Solutions, a non-profit organization.
Welcome again to Healthy Heart. This is Dr. Isaac Opoku Asare. So now let us talk about the triglycerides. One of the commonest conditions associated with high triglycerides, which has been associated with blockages in the blood vessels in the heart, as well as heart attacks and bad outcomes in terms of cardiovascular health, is diabetes. Anybody with uncontrolled diabetes that I've seen, most of the time, they've got high triglycerides. And getting your diabetes under control, it's a critical point. It's very sad. I met a young man now, not too old, and his hemoglobin A1C, which is a measure of how well your blood sugar is controlled, is almost 14. And this guy is almost legally blind. He cannot see because the diabetes has destroyed his ability to see, right? And he just found a new girlfriend and he cannot see the girlfriend. I don't know what is happening. It's a problem. So I was asking him, so how do you know her? Right? That may be by faith. And it's very sad that that could happen. And that discussion came on because this person has a very high triglycerides. And that is being driven by the diabetes. So having said that, what do you think are some of the measures that you need to take to ensure that your triglycerides, which is a component of your cholesterol, is controlled? So you can infer that the things that have been shown unequivocally to be associated with the aggressive increase of diabetes all over the world is the consumption of simple sugars Let me tell you the definition of simple sugars. Simple refined carbohydrates and sugar-sweetened drinks are probably the leading cause of the diabetes in this country, and therefore associated with high triglycerides. So, avoidance of refined simple sugars. What are refined simple sugars? Polished white rice. I'm repeating this. White bread. All those polished ones that looks good. And I've said that in certain traditions, they eat something they call awache. It is made brown. It's not the original unpolished one. The one that is in the United States that I've seen, they put beans into it. And the beans is brown. It turns it brown. Don't be deceived, please. There is an original unpolished rice that is good. And that is why brown rice is good. Right? A lot of the cookies that are out there, they are all made with white flour. So polished, simple sugars. I am not saying this, but that is what has been shown. A high consumption of simple polished, right, sugars has been a problem. Let me give you one example, right? You know how the polished sugars that we have now, the white ones that you consume, you put it in your tea, you put it in your coffee, you put it anywhere, right? That is a problem. You know, I tell people this. Coffee has been shown to have many good benefits. The only drawback of coffee is the fact that because it tastes bitter, you need a high amount of sugar to make it taste what? Sugary. And the addition of simple polished sugars to make your coffee tasty can be extremely deleterious. And if you're not careful, you'll never be able to reverse the impact of it in your life. So, moving away from polished carbohydrates, simple carbohydrates, is something that you need to undertake if your triglycerides is up, or if you don't want your triglycerides to go up, or if you want to reduce your diabetes, your risk of diabetes. What is the other one? Consumption of sugar-sweetened dyes, beverages, right? It has also been shown. What are they? All the sodas that are around. Let me just tell you this. Every can of soda contains a minimum of 8 to 10 what? 10 teaspoons of highly polished refined sugars. So if you drink 2 sodas or 3 sodas a day, you are consuming 30 teaspoons of sugar. You should close your eyes to this, please. Very bad. Very bad. I do consume it. But generally, I've reduced myself to consumption of 10 teaspoons of sugar. You know my definition of 10 teaspoons of sugar? That means 1 can of soda per week. And if you consume, just think about it. If you consume 1 can of soda every day, technically you are consuming around 70 teaspoons of sugar a week. No wonder diabetes is going through the roof in this country, right? So I will be very emphatic on this. That not only are you giving yourself diabetes by consumption of these sweetened sugar, but it is also making your cholesterol bad. And that is the point that I want to make here. There is a link between consumption of sugars and cholesterol problems. And that is why diabetes is associated with what? With heart attacks and other problems. That is one of the links. And that is why you need to be able to move away from these things. Please do your best. You see, there's a problem that occurred in this country. They said that fat is bad. But let me tell you, there are some that are good, right? Some of them include nuts. There are many sources of fats that I've told you that they are good. One of them is what? Extra virgin olive oil. I can challenge you to look at it everywhere, and that is good. So not all fat is bad. But there was this craze about fat. in this country so that people wanted to eat low, they want to eat fat-free food. No. I'm not going to recommend that to you. I believe that is not right. I will strongly recommend reduction of animal fat, but good amount of what? Moderate amount of plant fat is very good for you. So because of this craze, people moved completely away from fat. And life is said that life does not what? Life does not allow you to move away completely from it. So we replace the fat with what? With carbohydrates. And the replacement of the fat with carbohydrate is what has generated the diabetes in this country. Yet, the people in the food industry have taken advantage of it. And now, people want to lose weight. When they lose weight, they do protein shakes. I don't have anything against protein shake. But you can do your own protein shake by consumption of the nuts and the plant protein. Right? That is much cheaper. Let me tell you once again. So it is important that you don't move away from the fat and replace the fat with what? I personally believe that the consumption of the simple polished sugars do worse damage to you because they end up giving you what? Diabetes, in addition to the diabetes, causing your triglycerides to go up. Whereas only animal fats will not do what? Will not give you diabetes. And that is why this is critical. And I'm laying emphasis on it. Very, very important, that you be able to do that. If you want to reduce, one of the things I've seen, people who consume a lot of alcohol, I'm repeating that. People who consume a lot of alcohol, they also tend to have high levels of triglycerides. And it is important that you move away from that. Another thing that you can also put in your food, the data is a little bit questionable, but omega-3, I'm not a huge fan of omega-3 fatty acids, but I mean, consumption of omega-3 fatty acids has been shown that probably they can reduce your triglycerides. The data is not, the literature is not that strong. Where we know that the literature is strong is that a high concentrated component of omega-3 fatty acid has been shown that in people with heart attacks, if you give them that high concentrate, and it's not the omega-3s that are available that people sell, but this is a very high concentration, and it's actually a prescription now. When given to people with heart attacks and who have got already a bad cholesterol, the addition of this particular concentrate, which is now a medication, can reduce your risk of having further heart attacks. So that is a very, very important thing that you need to know. So we've talked about the triglycerides, right? We've talked about what you need to do to reduce your LDL, which is a bad cholesterol. Now let us talk about what are the things that you can do to increase your good cholesterol. And then next week we'll come and look at other things that you and me need to know, because this talk about cholesterol is in two sessions. So the first part is the lifestyle that I want to lay emphasis on. And then the next week we'll be talking about what is the management. How do you manage it? If you have this, what do you do? What do you have this, what do you do? Today is about the measures you need to put in place to ensure that you end up with a low LDL, which is a bad cholesterol, a low triglycerides, which you need to cut it down, and a good amount of what? Of HDL, which is a good cholesterol. What do you need to do? There is no medication. Let me repeat it here clearly. There is no single medication that has been shown to increase your what? Your good cholesterol. So if you think a doctor can give you a medication to increase it, that is not true. But we have evidence to show that good lifestyle patterns is going to help you. What is one of them? Exercise. Exercise, exercise, exercise. Right? It is believed that probably weight loss, I'm going to talk a little bit about weight loss before we go. It is believed that weight loss and good exercise, right, can raise the good cholesterol in you. And as I said, if you raise your good cholesterol, it can negate the impact, or it can reverse or dampen the impact of what? Of the bad cholesterol. So a healthy physical lifestyle is a very important factor that is linked to what? To your cholesterol profile, your cholesterol. And people have also talked about alcohol, that is red wine. The evidence is pretty weak, and I'm not going to give you the license to be an alcoholic, please, because it's very, very dangerous here, and people are selling the wine tablets and all those things. They may be good because why is it good? Because there is a component within this wine that now has not been identified, And those that and the good thing is that with that, now those tablets are available for you to be able to take them. So instead of consuming the wine, I can say that you can you can get these ones. The issue, I must be very frank with you, there is data out there to show that a glass of red wine can probably reduce your risk of heart attack. The data is not strong, so that is why we don't want to go out there and push it. But thanks to pharmacy, the advantages, the developments that they've had, these wine tablets that are there, we call them, people give them wine tablets, but they are now available as a nutrient that you can add to your diet that will help you and probably be able to cut down your cardiovascular risk by increasing your good cholesterol. So in a nutshell, as we close our session today, the things that we've talked about today is the 4 components of your cholesterol, which is your total cholesterol, your bad cholesterol, which is the LDL, and your good cholesterol, which is the HDL, as well as your triglycerides. The foundation of anything that you want to do with your cholesterol is lifestyle that we've gone through here. And I believe that if you undertake these lifestyles that we've talked about in terms of dietary patterns, in terms of appropriate weight maintenance, I want to tell you this. One of the biggest things that you can also do to reduce your triglycerides is weight loss, right? Appropriate weight management together with good physical activity. When you bring these 3 things, and remember, these are 1 or 3 of the 7 pillars of ideal cardiovascular health, you can significantly reduce, as I've said, your cholesterol level, especially your bad cholesterol level, by as much as what? By as much as 30%, because each of them will give you 5 to 10, 5 to 10, 5 to 10, and that can go a long way to reduce it. And whenever you're able to reduce it, that will also cut down your risk of dying from a cardiovascular problem. Why is that important? The need for you to understand is this. 1 out of 3 people in this country, it is believed that 1 out of 3, they end up dying because of a cardiovascular reason. A lot of people put so much fear in cancers and other things, but 90% of them, they will not die from that. Death from heart-related problems is more than death from all cancers put together and all death from respiratory problems. So I believe that God has given us knowledge, and this program is there to help to propagate that knowledge. And I believe that even as you take these measures, it's going to go a long way to help you to live longer, not just longer, a healthy, long life, so that you be able to see your children's children and also be able to share good life word with them. Thank you very much for joining me this evening. Next week, we'll be continuing with the second part of your cholesterol. We'll be looking at how do you manage that. If your cholesterol is high, what are the measures that you need to take to be able to manage it beyond the lifestyles that we've talked about. My name is Dr. Isaac Opoku Asare, and this is Healthy Heart. Thank you for joining me this evening, and may God bless you. Thank you.